Chainmail, Rules for Medieval Miniatures by Gary Gygax and Jeff Perrin. We have played, about a half a dozen games of this already, and it's getting to be a little bit same. So we're going to add in some interest. We're going to expand the adventure as we continue our exploration of this classic rule set. We're going to add in two different things. We're going to add in generals and leaders who will add +1 to a die roll when somebody rolls a die. They can insta-rally one unit, but then they're stuck with that unit for 3 turns. And I think if they're with a unit, they add 1 to all the rolls. So, I'm sorry. Any unit within 12 inches gets to add 1 to their morale rolls. We're also going to add catapults. And if we take a look at this, catapults fire every other turn, assuming they did not move. Now, they can move 3 inches per turn. Light catapults can fire, remember we're playing half scale, the minimum range is 7.5 inches, maximum range is 12 for us. Sorry. Light catapults can fire from 7.5 to 15 inches, heavy catapults from 12 to 24. Now, the story is that one of these armies, I got 4 to pick from. I've got elves, I've got humans, I've got orcs, and I've got undead. Somebody is attacking somebody else, so there's a siege going on. They've finally completed their siege engines, and they're moving them into position in the pre-dawn hours. When the sun comes up, the besieged, the defenders, send out a sortie to wipe these off the map. Now, the question is going to be, who is in the town? It's going to be a little weird, because the attackers are going to have the objective of destroying these catapults. And the defenders have to defend the catapults. But really, the guys with the catapults are attacking the town. So just so we're clear, when I talk about attackers and defenders, I'm talking about the scenario. The roles are reversed. This is a counterattack. And here's what we're going to do. Our elves are the ace. Our humans are the deuce. 3 for the orcs and 4 for the undead. I'm going to go ahead and shuffle these up. And I'm going to turn 1 over to find out who is attacking the catapults. And I'm going to turn 1 over to find out who is defending those catapults. Now, the catapults, the other thing we need to figure out is whether or not those catapults are heavy catapults or light catapults. So our attackers are the undead, have moved their bone catapults up, and the deuce is going to be the humans. So the humans have sent a sortie out to destroy the catapults. I was going to say, we'll do even odd, except that we know this is a 1 and 3, so they're both odd. Well, I'll tell you what, if this is the ace, they will be heavy catapults. Boom, they're light catapults, so they have a range of 7.5 to 15 inches. Here's our terrain setup, and the units are already deployed. I'm saving a little bit of time today by just getting all this stuff out of the way. What you are looking at is a 276-point army of undead that is using this. And I used the same random terrain generation that I did last time. They've tried to bring up the 3 catapults under cover of the hills and the woods. It didn't work. The guys on the city wall saw them coming, and they mobilized a force of 276 points to stop them. 276 to 276. Although, victory conditions are a little odd here. The catapults, if they can get to this hill and start lobbing rocks at the walls, then they're going to win. On the other hand, if these guys can destroy the catapults, they're going to win. You've got 3 units of archers, 12 archers here. Now remember, with a 1 to 20, that makes this 240 archers for the townies. The town is somewhere to the south here. You've got 24 heavy horse, which again, that's going to be about 500 knights. Our general is on this stand here. We've got a unit of 500 heavy foot with pikes this time. We haven't seen those before. Pikes can fight 2 ranks deep, and they have a +1 to withstand cavalry charges. Over here we've got a light cavalry, so there's a lot more units ready to attack on the part of the townies, but this unit up here for the skeletons is interspersed. You can see 1, 2, 3 archers interspersed with 5 units of heavy foot, straight heavy foot. Those are longbows. So the longbows have a range of about 10.5 inches. The catapults can fire indirect all the time. There's a 3-inch shadow behind each of these terrain features here, the woods and the hills, not here. They can fire at anybody. And remember, this is a 30-inch board, so as soon as these guys step up, the catapults are going to be able to fire at them. And the catapults are going to be a lot of fun. I'll show you how those work. The general here moves as light horse, and this stand fights as 4 light horse, plus all of the fun stuff, the fun abilities that the leader has. With all of that said, we are ready to get started. I'm going to drop down to a more human eye view, if you will. You can't see the archers down here or the light cavalry over off the screen that way. That's okay. One of the things I think that helps balance this scenario out is that the attackers, even though they're in a much better position, they got a long ways to go, and they have to move because they're already in range of those heavy catapults. I'm going to start off as we always do with an initiative roll, and the undead are going to get to go first, but they're going to wait. They say, you know what? You guys go ahead, show me your hand, show me what you're going to do. So I'm going to move the... they're just between you and me, the skeletons aren't going to move. They're happy to wait. They've got a nice, solid, defensible position. Their knights are going to wait until these guys exhaust themselves getting across the field before they charge. So let me move up the Imperial forces first. I know our shot is a little low, but we've worked everybody in. Here's what's happening. The Imperial forces, the city folk, have moved up and they're taking shelter behind the hill here. The heavy horse are taking shelter behind these woods, and the light horse and the heavy foot are now exposed. The general does not, I guess we'll go ahead and give him a weary marker as well. I think he's going to have the same fatigue as whatever unit he joins, but for now he's just going to hang out right there. Of course, the skeletons didn't move, but they do have 3 shots with those catapults. And what we're going to do is we're going to fire 2 of the catapults at that unit, and we're going to fire 1 at this unit. So 2 are trying to gauge the range and knock out these light cavalry before they get too close. One of them is going to try to knock out the heavy foot. Now, bear in mind, those catapults take a full turn to reload. If they move, they cannot reload. So moving means they have to wait 3 turns. In other words, they're probably not going to move. But the way firing works is you nominate a point forward and to one side. They're going to nominate a point 15 inches. Well, so this first one is firing at the foot unit. And that first one is going to nominate a distance of 14 inches dead ahead and 1 inch in that direction. So after you've measured that, you take it from the start, 14 inches dead ahead is going to be right there, and then we go 1 inch to the side, right there. So we'll put a green marker. This is where they wanted it to land. Then you roll 2d6, and you, the red die is going to be falling short, the brown die is going to be too far. And whichever is higher, that's what you do. So it's going to go 5 inches too far. You measure the 5 inches this way, and oh look, it's going to land right here. It went 5 inches. The heavy catapult has a template of 3, is it 3 inches? It's a weird distance. Maybe it's 2.5. Let me look it up here real quick, just so we get it absolutely right, and none of the sticklers will come at me, bro. It's 3.5 inches, or, because we're doing half scale, 1 3/4. So if we measure, now that's the overall template size. So if we put, well, if you cut that 1 3/4, you know what? I'm just going to go if it's within, well, this thing is 3/4 of an inch across, okay? So I'm going to go, if it's within 1/2 inch, oh, look at that. We got 2 guys under it. I'm going to call that 2 casualties on this unit from the catapult fire. Then we're going to make 2 shots on the light horse over there. And for that, this middle guy is going to declare a point 12 inches dead ahead and 8 inches that way. The other one is going to declare 12 inches dead ahead and 9 inches that way. So if we measure our 12 inches, that'll put us right here. So there's 1 and there's 2. And then we're going to go 8 inches from this one, which will land right here. And then we'll go 9 inches from this one, which will land right there. So we did a really good job nominating those distances. Let's shift over and take a look. The first one was a direct hit, except we have to worry about whether it falls short or not, or goes too far. So again, the red die will be falls short. The black die, oh, you know what I forgot also? We gotta have those distances. So red is short, black is long. A tie means you hit directly. This is a devastating result. The direct hit means not only do you wipe out those 4 guys, you wipe out everybody within a half an inch, which is gonna be another 2, 4, and we'll even give them credit for this one. So they just did 9 casualties. This second bombard right there is gonna go 5 inches too far, and if we measure 5, it's gonna be well out of the way, but what does it matter when you just did a total of 9, man, how devastating. Not easy to use the catapults, at least until you find that range. But brother, 9 casualties. The light horse might have to make an instability due to excess casualties check here. Light horse at... Got it. Light horse and Lightfoot both need to make an instability due to excess casualties. At 1/4 casualties, we are there. When they lose one more guy, they get knocked down to half. They're going for good. Now, in order to stay on the board right now, they need to roll an 8 or better, ordinarily, except that they are within 12 inches of a leader, so that becomes a 7 or better. And with a snake eyes, they are going to... failure to defeat, they rout as if they lost a melee. So they move 1.5 moves, 18 inches is going to take them off the board, and just like that, the tables have turned a powerful force. The plan there was to get the light horse into the shadow. There's a little gap between the longbow and the catapults, just wasn't meant to be. That is the end of the turn, so we can roll for the next turn, and this time, once again, the skeletons say, you know what? Come at me, you living bros. And once again, now the humans are going to take advantage of the shadows that they're in, and the only one that's going to move is going to be this foot unit right here can move 4.5 inches, and they're going to stop right here. That's close enough for them to just stop, catch their breath, and then over to their left, these guys have not moved. They are going to be just fine. The undead are happy. Well, now we got a situation where we're in a bit of a stalemate. This next turn again is going to be irrelevant because both of these units are not going to move. The undead are waiting. You got to come out in the open, guys. And so we move on to the next turn, and we get a 1 and a 5, and the undead say, yep, you know what? Come to me, my babies. And our archers will move to the top of the hill here. Because they had to struggle uphill, that's going to earn them 2 fatigue markers. The heavy horse here are going to do something a little bit complicated. Before we get to that, we'll do the same thing with these guys. They're moving up to the top of the hill. That's going to cost them 2 fatigue markers. And, oh, by the way, they're no longer undercover. We'll leave this guy where he is. Now, these guys are going to be really complicated. Let's check the range on those bombards. That puts them directly at 12 inches. So the bombards, so the catapults are probably just going to wind up firing all 3 shots over here and hoping that they fall short. Come to think of it, they can always nominate the top of this hill and hope that they fall short. Oh, they don't shoot this turn. They're busy reloading. That's right. Thank you for reminding me, those of you that were talking to the screen as though I can hear you. This is where things get a little bit complicated. The heavy horse can only move 6 inches. However, if they want to turn to the left, it's going to cost them a half a move to form column and then start moving out. Instead, what's going to happen here is they're going to turn to the right, and then that costs them a quarter move. It's half penalty for the horses. So they can move up to 1.5 inches because they're going to have to use the other quarter move to turn once again. So by doing this, basically we move them the 1.5 inches forward, and then they rotate one more time, and we're going to put them, something like this. So that's a full move. Getting the rest really didn't do much good, but for these guys, the important thing was making sure that these guys are well rested. They may wind up being something of a distraction so that those heavy foot can charge up and destroy the catapults. But we'll have to see. So that's the only thing they're going to do, and that costs them one move. And now the undead can opt to charge if they want to. They don't want to, they're going to hang tight right there. Moving on now, remember the catapults can't shoot. Moving on to the next turn, the catapults have reloaded, and the undead get to go first, and they say, yep, once again, why don't you come to me? Moving downhill, when you move downhill, you only get one fatigue marker, and you can move at full speed. So our archers have moved up, and our heavy foot over here on the part of the human kingdom have also moved up. Now, they only moved 2.25 inches because they went 6 across. Remember that these guys have pikes. That 6 across cost them half their movement. And then we just moved our general kind of out here to the middle so that he can watch everybody. We moved these guys up 6 inches. We did not make any formation changes. We may want to in the next turn. Now, the skeletons have a difficult choice to make when it comes to moving. The first thing they're going to do is these archers, these longbow over here, can fire 10.5 inches, and they do have these guys within range. So those longbow can fire in 2 ranks deep. That's going to be a total of 12 shots at this foot unit right here. And as a result of that, now remember they are they fully armored? I think so. So that's only going to do 1 shot for the 12, and then the unarmored half armor or shield. Let's call the pikemen half armor, actually. The 12 is going to do 3 wounds total. So that's going to be 1, 2 to wipe out one of these stands, and then 1 more. So those guys have now taken a total of 6 wounds, and I think 6. They've lost 5 guys, and the heavy armor, their instability doesn't kick in until they suffer a 3rd casualty. So they need to have 4 more casualties before they need to make that instability check. And that is the end of their firing during movement. Now, the skeletons have to decide what they're going to do. These heavy foot, if they are stationary and they get charged next turn, this looks like about 12 inches. If they don't countercharge, if they don't move right now, then they're going to fight as light horse or medium horse. They don't want to do that. So they will go ahead and move up the... Let's move them up. Did we go the full 6 inches? Let's just move up 5. They don't want to get too close to these archers. We're just going to move them up a little bit. So they are classed as having moved. They're beginning their charge. That'll earn them a fatigue marker. And these archers are they? Yeah, 7.5 inches. These are not longbows. These are just bows. They have a range of 7.5 inches. So, which means the skeletal heavy cavalry are not subject to bow fire this turn. But in the bow fire turn, these guys are going to shoot again, and they're going to do another. The pikemen are classed again. It's going to be another 3 casualties, and that wipes out another stand. So it's not going well for them. That is the end of the turn. 1 more casualty will force an instability check for those guys. Rolling for initiative. The skeletons get it, and they say, yeah, we want it. We definitely want initiative. Because we're going to take our heavy horse, and we are going to charge at them, at the human, the warm-blooded humans. And that charge is going to carry them a total of, for a heavy horse, it's 9 inches. And that 9 inches will take them to right here. Oh, they're just shy. They should have moved up that 1 more inch. They should have taken the bow shot. That is going to earn them 2 fatigue markers. And it's going to put the onus on these guys. The first thing we're going to do is... Ooh, babe. Oh, okay. Now, on this turn, the catapults can fire. Do we want to move our archers? And I think we do. They can move a total of 4.5. They can move 2 1/4 if they want to turn 90 degrees. So that's what we'll do. We'll turn them about like that. And there's your 4th fatigue marker. Because of this failure to reach the humans, the warm-blooded, the skeletons are going to face a unit that has time to make the formation change. And they are going to countercharge. Now that does earn them 2 more fatigue markers. And then the last unit that has to move is these foot troops who, God bless them, as they march into danger, are going to wind up right about there. And that's going to earn them a 4th fatigue marker. So even if they get to the catapults, they're going to be in trouble. These archers are not firing. However, they are interspersed. So that's your 45 degrees. And what we're going to do is we're going to give credit for 2 of these guys and all 4 of these. So we have 6 units that are firing at this heavy foot. And when you've got 6 guys firing at half armor shield, you're going to do 2 casualties, which will take these guys below the 3rd, which does trigger an instability due to excess casualties check. I wish there was an InstDec. Is there an acronym we can use? We like our acronyms. Heavy foot ordinarily will stick around on a 7-up, but we got a general, so that's going to be a 6-up. And with an 8, they are okay. They are going to continue marching forward. Now we have to do a... Oh, wait a minute. You know what we got to do? Because these guys both charge, we got to see if either of these units chickens out. And to do that, when you are charged by cavalry, heavy horse fighting heavy horse, these guys have to roll a 5 or better in order to continue. They did. The humans, so the skeletons stay, the human heavy horse, they need a 4 or better. Because of the general once more, with an 11 they do, which puts us into combat. And it's going to be only the front rank. It's going to be 10 on 10. And heavy horse on heavy horse means we're going to roll 10 dice for each side. So if we grab our 10 dice, we've got 10 dice. We'll roll for the skeletons first. Looking for 6s. They're going to do 2 casualties. And then we're going to roll for... Wait, is the GC Mini a 6? I'm wrong. They're going to do a total of 4 casualties. The GC Mini, these are free dice that came with an order. Kind of nice. The GC Mini logo. So now rolling for our humans, our warm bloods, they get 0. Okay. The 4 casualties means we're going to strip off 1 unit. Morale in this case is going to be very easy. Heavy horse, same number of figures means there's no bonus for having a larger unit. There is also, the only thing that's going to happen is that the undead are going to get to roll a d6. And they roll a 1, which means you multiply that by the number of casualties, so 4. That gets added to the morale score. Everything's a wash. That 4 gets doubled because they only have 20 figures each. For a total score of 8, the melee is going to continue for next round, except it's not good for the warm bloods. They're going to be fighting. They're now blown out. They're exhausted. They're going to be fighting as medium horse. The skeletons are still at 5. They don't have to move. They're going to get 1 round of fighting at heavy horse. We move into missile fire phase. The catapults are not going to shoot. These guys are too close. What they're going to do is rotate like this. So let's just walk through this. We know the hill is 12 inches away. If they nominate 12 inches dead ahead and then fall at most 5 inches short, those are still going to land here. It's not going to do them any good. So instead what they'll do is they'll turn. Now, they're loaded, but they're going to have to spend next turn they can't fire. The following turn they'll be able to fire. who can fire are these guys. And again, we've got 6 of them that are capable of shooting at the human heavy foot, and that is going to do a total of 2 more casualties, so we remove these guys. They are now down to half strength. It's not until they get to 2/3 strength that they have to make their second instability due to excess casualties check. So we're done with the turn. Well, these guys could fire, but you know what? You can't fire into melee. We're done with the turn. We're moving on to the next turn, and we'll see who goes first. And again, it's going to be the undead. This time around, the undead foot troops are going to go first. What do they want to do? Yeah, they got to move first because they got to cut these guys off. They are going to... The archers will step back to here, which will allow these guys to turn 45 degrees and move 2.5 inches to here. They're moving up to block their counterparts, and we'll keep them in the same formation. They're not doing any kind of a formation change, at least not on this turn. They may charge next turn, and they wildly outnumber the human counterparts. But now the humans do have the opportunity to make a move, and it's going to be 2.5 inches. Their charge, these troops are going to be exhausted. The human heavy foot can charge 6 inches, but they can't charge uphill. But wait a minute. They're 3 inches from the hill, and they do have enough movement to get locked in combat on this turn. So what does that mean? I think it means they're going to suffer the double penalty. They're going to fight. It's going to be light troops versus light troops. We're going to have a total of 12 pikemen fighting versus 6 light troops. This is where things get a little complicated. But we're not done with that yet. First we have to do, first bow fire, there's none. Then these bow are going to go ahead and move. Now they are light infantry. They can turn up to 45 degrees and charge. I think we can bring them into contact here. Because it's light infantry fighting against heavy horse, well, first of all, they move, so they're going to be exhausted. And what does that mean? We talked about this before. When you're Lightfoot fighting heavy horse, you only get 1 die roll per 4 guys. Well, you've only got 4 guys in contact. Why don't we go ahead and give this 1 extra die for attacking and helping these guys out. All right, I think we're ready for melee now. And I want to start with the melee up there first. One other thing we could do is move the general up to give them another bonus. The deal here is we have to pick. The general can stay here and give a +1 to the morale bonus to both sides. Right? He is within 12 inches. Or he can join one of the units to give them both a morale bonus and a melee bonus. We're just going to leave him there and keep the morale bonus. That combat up there is going to be, we've got Lightfoot versus Lightfoot. It's going to be 6. The difference is it's going to be 12 dice for the warm bloods because they have those pikes. And those might wind up making all the difference in the world. They only hit on 6s. The fact that they rolled 3 6s is going to do 1, well, as we've always done, we're going to remove them one at a time. So there is 1 catapult that has 1 guy left in it. Then we got to do this combat down here, and it's going to be 10 dice versus 10 dice. So we will roll for the skeletons first. Those are heavy horse fighting against, oh, right, the human heavy horse defend as medium horse. So heavy horse attacking medium horse, they hit on 5s now. They're going to do a total of 2 casualties. We'll put a red die back there to remind us. Then the heavy horse will attack the heavy horse. You still attack as heavy horse, you just defend as 1 class later. So these are going to hit on 6s, and we're going to give them 1 extra die because they've got some... Oh, you actually get bumped up. So here's where it gets a little wonky, right? These guys get bumped up to, and there's our blown out heavy horse for the skeletons. The archers get bumped up to medium horse or medium foot because they're attacking the flank, but because they're exhausted, they drop back down. And just like that, we've got 1, 2, 3, 4 kills for Team Warmblood. All right, so it's 2 versus 4 casualties, and the 4 means we remove 1 stand. The 2 casualties here mean that when we go to do our morale differential, the heavy horse for the humans are at +9 per horse. They've got 2 extra, that's 18. Then they get 1 point for each of the archers, and this is the real reason we moved in. So it's 18 plus another 12, that's a differential of 30. They also now have 14 more guys, so they're up to 44, double that to 88. These heavy horse are going to have to route 1.5 moves. That's going to be a total of 9 inches with their back to the enemy, and these heavy horse are going to pursue them the full 9 inches, which means they're going to get, so we turn their backs, and they wind up right there. These heavy horse are going to ride up, and there are still, well, I guess we're going to give them the 10 dice. And the skeleton cavalry do not get, we're going to use our exhausted marker for them, and we'll use our exhausted marker for everybody, just to give us a few, not quite so many chips to have to shove around. Once you're exhausted, you get a little yellow gem just to remind me. And now, who else is exhausted? These guys are exhausted. Now the Warmbloods get to make an attack with 10 dice. 5 and 5. And the skeletons do not get to retaliate. So we fight another round of combat. And the heavy horse fight is heavy horse against heavy horse. Killing on 6s. They're going to score 2 more wounds against these guys. And you work through the morale one more time to see if those guys rout off the table is essentially what's going to happen here. And now you've got a situation where you've got 4 guys exceeding. Oh, we did 4 casualties. Times 1 is 4. Man, I always roll 1s on that bonus. So it's 4. 4 extra guys would give you 36. That's 40. And you've got 4 more guys. You're up to 44, 88. Route 1.5 moves once more. Backs to the enemy. The heavy horse have been driven from the field. And it's decision point time. The heavy horse here, they routed 1.5 moves, which is 9 inches. The charge for heavy horse is 9 inches, so they're done moving and they're blown out. Okay. That is now the end of the turn. We did all of our combat, we did all our melee. It's time to roll for initiative once more. This time, the Crusaders get the initiative, and that's going to be critical. Because what it does is it allows our exhausted heavy horse to say, I don't care if I'm exhausted. I am going to rotate 90 degrees like so, and I am going to charge. I'm going to move my 7.5 inches to here, 7 and then 1/2 inch more, and they're going to wind up right here. There are 2 casualties in that. And what that does is it provides, they could turn oblique if they come back a little bit more. I think we're good. We're going to bring this guy up to here, and then these archers are going to turn. They're just going to move their full 4.5 inches straight up to here. They're a little bit tired, but they got to race on over. And then that's the end of the movement. For the Crusaders, so we can do some movement for these guys. If they move the skeleton heavy foot turns, so here's the problem they face. They're in a really awkward formation. If they turn 90 degrees, they've only got 1.5 inches of movement. You can't charge uphill. You really only have 3/4 of an inch. Here's what I'm going to allow. I will allow them to form column. What do we do here? The 90 degrees. I think all they can do is charge this unit right here. And we're going to tuck them in like that. I think that's probably pretty fair. A little bit of a formation change. It's going to be 4-on-4, but it's going to be medium. And that is their second move. With the charge, they're going to have 3. So all they've done is keep basically what happened is the horse are coming over. The skeletons are going to jump in the way so they can't back up the melee for the... what do you call these guys over here? Now they've moved once. If they move again, they're going to move to here. Like this, the catapults, that's the word I'm looking for. And that's going to give the archers a second, for what it's worth, a second fatigue marker. They're doing that because they can fire over the heads of the enemies, but they're out of range of these archers here. The melee that we're looking at is gonna be our 12 versus, now we've only got, oh, you know what we didn't do over here? I might have just wasted my time. We didn't do any kind of a morale check over there. These catapults will, the crews will stay with them, but the fact is, they are outnumbered by 3 guys. And the crew are classed as light infantry. So if we run through all of our post-melee morale, the Lightfoot, you're gonna have a total of 9 times 4 is 36, and they're done. We got to roll our bonus morale. 3 casualties times 3 is 9. And then our heavy foot are going to score 12 times 5 is 69. Plus they outnumber by 5, so they wind up with 74, double that. Yeah, you know what? This game is actually over. I can't believe I forgot to do morale for those. The catapults are going to surrender, having been mobbed by Crusader pikemen and just not able to withstand. We really should have brought these skeletal heavy foot down off the hill a lot sooner to get in front of the catapults and left the archers up top. If we had given up 1 turn of 2 bow fire, I think they were really counting on the fact that the withering bow fire as the Crusader pikemen ran across the field was going to wipe them out. They passed their instability due to excess casualties check, and ultimately that was the big mistake that we made on the part of the skeletons. But the Crusaders now, they didn't miss a trick. We're getting a lot better as we play this game at using our horses, and I think the general helped the morale. I don't know if you missed any by 1, but even having that +1 makes you as a player far more likely to take risks. And bear in mind that +1 is, because we're rolling on 2d6, going from a 9 to an 8 is a really big change, and going from a 7 to a 6 is a big boost. So we were able to be a little bit more aggressive with our horsemen, in addition to the fact that we were able to move up and hide behind the hills. So the very strategy the undead used, oh, well, we'll sneak up behind the hills, wound up costing them in the long run, because this sortie on the part of the town's defenders did the exact same thing. The town defenders were able to hide from those powerful catapults. But you've seen how deadly 3 catapults can be. Man, 1 direct hit just wiped that light horse unit off the map. Although that said, that light horse allowed the pikes to get close enough, because if the pikes had had to eat 2 full barrages out of these catapults, I think they'd have been blasted off the earth. Pretty fair fight, interesting game, loving it. Until next time, I'm praying for you.